Going everyone, VenomousStare here, back with more StarCraft 2. This time we have the wonderful, creative Team Liquid Zerg, TLO, who sent me these replays. Thank you, Dario, if you're watching. He's from Germany, he's very talented, and he's been playing the game since the beta, which is 6 years now. A little bit over, so. He's been around forever, guys. He's an OG. His opponent, also an OG, formerly of Team Root, the Mexican player, Major. Now, Mexico isn't known for its StarCraft 2 talent, but Major has always been very good, even since Brood War. He has been the shining star of Mexico. He is a good macro player. He's versatile. He's one of these guys who's a better copier and metagame perfecter than he is a strategy creator, which is the opposite of TLO. TLO is a guy who loves to innovate. As we see his pool finally go down, TLO has always been someone who's on the cusp of new strategy. He's doing creative things, usually little nuanced creative things, like certain tricks to spread creep, or cool hotkey layouts. He's a forward-thinking guy, which, that gets overplayed a bit, but a lot of these pro gamers will just mindlessly do things and then never adapt. So TLO definitely is not one of those guys. He's willing to try new things. He's very outspoken against balance whining, which I would say he's in the minority on that. So he's an interesting guy, and he sent me these replays, so you gotta love him for that. Ling Speed and Double Queen on the way for our German Zerg. Notice how he pulled out of gas and has all of his drones on minerals now. He'll also be able to deduce relatively soon that it is cross positions, as Major sends his Reaper out. Major scouts close positions first. This is where Terran wants to spawn, is these positions with Zerg, bottom left, bottom left, bottom right, because then Terran takes their third here, and they can do an excellent push up on this top cliff, right under the Zerg's third, and absolutely annihilate them. Unfortunately for Major, TLO is all the way across the other side of the map. So Juanito is going to save his SCV, and I'm sure after that he's going to scout the base of Dario, who has taken a third. And if we go to income, is slightly ahead. Interesting adaptation. Major built the reactor onto his barracks. He pumped 2 Marines while he made 1 Hellion, and then he has 2 Marines to prevent scouting. He also got a quick follow-up starport, and he's getting a medevac. So this is interesting by Major, because he's denying scouting. Those 2 Marines also serve as somewhat of a safety net, but he's also getting the Hellions. I really like this adaptation. And the medevac will allow him to do lots of things, potentially elevator drop for the Hellions, or maybe he's just going to kind of play standard Hellions and then do a Marine drop in the main. But Major intelligently is getting this fast medevac, and it's going to give him options. So it's a 3 Marine drop, which is interesting, because these Marines aren't going to have stem, and a Liberator is going to come as well as a follow-up. So, ooh, interesting little micro battle as TLO made a spore to prevent the drone from dying, had to cancel because of the DPS, tried to make an Evo chamber, but Major threw the grenade right under him and prevented it from happening. Nice micro from the Mexican Terran. TLO has 3 forward creep queens here defending his base, a 4th one just hatched at his 3rd. Queens are very good at defending against Hellions, but at a certain point the Terran player just gets so many Hellions that they can just run through your queens, especially with Reapers. That's one great thing. You should always try to save your Reaper, especially if you make 2, because having 1 or 2 Reapers with these little Hellion pushes is very strong. One thing that you don't ever see Terran players do really is bring an SCV and repair their Hellions. I don't understand why they don't do this. As we see TLO, excellent defense at the top of this ledge, which is a very popular spot to attack, and he transfused. So he baited Major into attacking that queen, thinking he could kill it. He ended up damaging Hellions and not taking any damage. And Major's going to try to run up here again, but these Hellions are very low. He's going to lose a couple of them. Loses 3. So definitely not a good trade for Major, as we see he was looking at his front door, which just got busted through with a few Banes. And TLO's going to make a few more Banes. It's going to cancel and kill all these SCVs, which can't get up on this high ground, because obviously if Major lowered the door, TLO would have gotten his main and ended the game. So if we pull up workers lost, wow, TLO's ahead by 19. That's a lot of workers to lose this early on. Oh my goodness. TLO's double Major's workers. And he's going to start killing this wall, as well as a few of Major's Hellions. TLO is also going to beat Major to 1-1 upgrades here. So Major is in a very, very precarious, sticky situation. He also has to defend his third, which I think he'll manage. Though these Hellions are very low, TLO decides not to commit, takes one volley. He's pressuring this third a bit, but I don't think Major is really concerned about this. Back in camp TLO, we have a Roach Warren, an Infestation Pit on the way for Hive, I imagine. Another Roach Warren, maybe a mistake, maybe a TLO special. And no fourth base just yet. TLO snipes a worker for his trouble and almost gets a Hellion. Ooh, almost gets a Hellion twice. And he's coming in with more Lings, so he might get the Hellion. We see a Hive on the way from Dario, as well as a Spire. So he's taking steps to close out this game. He's not just making a bunch of Roachling and trying to win because he's ahead. So he's doing the right thing. Major has a substantial enough force to defend this base against just these Lings. And if we go to upgrades, yeah, he doesn't have a combat shield, so that's just another area in which Major is behind. You want combat shield so desperately when you fight against Banelings. It's so important. And TLO is just kind of trying to pick Major apart here, as Major does lift his wall up this time. So none of the Zerg units get in. And Major also defends his third. Major's not really the kind of player who can be out multitask, who can just be kind of ran over brute force with more actions. He's a very, very strong macro player. So TLO is harassing him a bit, but Major is by no means falling apart. Remember, that damage he took earlier was due to a few Banes. Major burrows both mines, but he's going to lose both of them. TLO has 1-1 upgrades. These Lings chew through stuff very quickly. Ultralisk Cavern, Crackling upgrades, and 2-2 on the way for Dario, as this is going to be a very, very unpleasant sighting for Major when these Ultras come out. TLO has also established a fourth. Major has actually got a lot of workers, considering how many he lost. So despite falling behind, Major is showing off his macro. But we can see he's kind of sacrificed a lot to get here. He doesn't have a whole lot of units. He doesn't have a whole lot of infrastructure. These Ultras, 4 of them on the way right now, guys. This is going to be awful for Major. He doesn't even have the offensive capabilities to be obnoxious and drop. So even though Major has reacted to TLO's multitasking well, the fact that TLO has just constantly made Major do actions has slowed Major's progress back into the game down, and this means that Dario is able to make these Ultras. And if we look at Major's base, he's not ready for this. He can make one Marauder at a time. One. And he doesn't even have combat shields. Oh yeah, he does, excuse me. He doesn't have slow shot though. So the great reveal is about to happen for Major. And he sees. So he's going to try to defend. He can't really. TLO has Infestors. Major just doesn't have the unit count to deal with this. Ooh, the Medivacs get caught. Dario also has some Corruptors. Nice, so Major's going to lose a lot of his Medivacs. Over half. And he just does not have the Marauder count to deal with this. These Ultras are going to run up into the base of Major, and they're not going to die. They have 6 armor. Poor Major only has 2 attack. He can kite his little heart out and it just will not matter. And he'll get fungled at some point. Oh, destruction. And TLO beats Major. So great game from our German player. Exciting game. We saw a little Baneling action here early while an attack was going on over here. Some Lings got in and TLO never looked back. If you enjoyed, subscribe.